So 11.4 is about the equation of a circle, which you learned yesterday, and completing the square. So this time the equation is not going to look like our formula, but we're going to have to get to that formula by completing the square. So I want you to try A, B, and C as your warm-up. So pause the video. Remember that if you're expanding a trinomial or you're trying to get to a trinomial, you're foiling. So remember, FOIL is first, outer, inner, last, and that's how you multiply. If you're trying to factor, that's when you do your two parentheses and see what adds up to 12 but multiplies to 36. So try those three right now, pause your video, and then come back and check your answers. So for A, you should got x squared minus 10x plus 25 after you combine like terms. For B, you should get x squared plus 8x plus 16, and then when you factor, it would have factored into x plus 6 times x plus 6, and we can rewrite that as x plus 6 squared. So this step is important just because we're going to need to rewrite this as this today. So D, completing the square. So you probably saw this in algebra. What this is what if we want to factor and there's no number where this blue line is. So I don't know a number that multiplies to 0 but adds up to 6. So what we do is we call this thing called completing the square. So we rewrite our equation, and I'm going to add a blank next to whatever is next, or whatever my x value is or y value is. So it's going to be x squared plus 6x plus blank equals 40 plus blank. So whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So the rule is whatever this b term is, so remember this was a, this was b, this is c, so whatever your b term is, you take it and you divide it by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now to get it in the blank, what I do is I square whatever number that is. So I divide b by 2 and square it. When I square it, I get 9. So 9 goes in each blank. Okay, so again, you take the b term, you divide it by 2, and then you square it. Now if I wanted to factor that, it's always going to be whatever this number is. So it's going to be x and then whatever this sign is. So x plus 3 and x plus 3. So completing the square gets us to this part right here. It's two numbers that are exactly the same that multiplies together. That's what completing the square does. So it's x plus 3 times x plus 3. 4 plus 9 is 49. So remember, to rewrite this left-hand side, I can just say x plus 3 squared since there's two of them. Now, you can skip this step and you can go from here down to here if you want, but I just wanted to show you. So this is the most important thing. So I take half of 6 and I square it, and that goes in my blank, and then this term right here is whatever this number is. So we're going to try this now with equation of a circle. So going on to the next page, it says the following is the equation of a circle with a radius of 5 and a center of 1, 2. Do you see why? So if I look at my equation of a circle, remember it's x minus a squared plus y minus b squared equals r squared. So this clearly is not in that form because I don't see any parentheses with squares. So what I have to do is I have to get it to that form. So I'm going to try to factor. So let's start off with this part right here. X squared minus 2x plus 1. So what are two numbers that multiplies to 1 but adds up to negative 2? That would be x minus 1 times x minus 1. So all I did was factor that part. Let's look at the y terms now. So y squared minus 4y plus 4. Two numbers that multiply to positive 4 but add up to negative 4 are negative 2 and negative 2. So now I can rewrite this as x minus 1 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 25. So if you notice, if I wanted to take the center, remember you take the opposite sign. So for A here, -1 opposite -1 is +1. For B, opposite of -2 is +2. And then for my radius, I take the square root of 25, which is just 5. So it asked if the radius was 5 and the center was 1, 2, and I can clearly see it is. So sometimes we use completing the square or factoring so we can get it into our original circle form, which is this. So let's try another one. It says rewrite the following in the form of our circle equation. So again, we're going to focus on our x's and then our y's and then simplify it. So looking at my first x values, I have x squared plus 4x plus 4. If I want to factor that, I need two numbers that multiply to +4 but add up to +4. And that would be x plus 2 and x plus 2. Now I'm going to look at my y values. So y squared minus 6, this should say y, plus 6 or plus 9. So two numbers that multiply to 9 but add up to -6. And those are y minus 3 and y minus 3. I want you to notice that these numbers, like 2 and 2, will always be the same number, just like -3 and -3 are always going to be the same number. The reason they have to be the same is so we can write it in a condensed form here. So we can write x plus 2 squared plus y minus 3 squared, which equals 36. So that would be my equation of a circle. I want you to try the next one. So again, you're going to factor this part here and then this part here. So pause the video and try that now. So this would have been your equation, and then if you wanted to take it a step further, remember to find the center, you take the opposite signs, and then to find the radius, you just take the square root. So that's if they give you this C term here. So remember, this is A, B, C, A, B, C. Now, what if they don't give you that C term, and it wants you to find the radius and center of the circle? So if I look, I have A, B, but I don't have C. Here I have A, B, but I don't have C. So what we have to do is we have to do completing the square, what we did on example D on the first page, twice. So I'm going to rewrite this, x squared plus 4x. Now I don't have a C, so I'm going to put a blank here. Then we're going to do y squared minus 12y plus blank equals, now whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So I'm going to add two blanks there. So starting with our x values, remember, we take half of our b. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then we square it. 2 squared is just 4. So 4 goes in that blank, and 4 goes in this blank. Now we take half of 12. So you never take the sign, only the number. Half of 12 is 6. 6 squared is 36. So 36 goes here, and 36 goes here. So these spots are always going to be plus, and then you're always going to take your half of b and square it. Now if I look, half of b was 2, so I know that's what's going in my parentheses, is x times, or x something 2 and x something 2. Now to figure out if it's plus or minus, we look at this sign here. So since it's plus, I put plus here and here. To look at the y now, I know it's y something 6 because half of b was 6. So it's y something 6, y something 6. And I look at the sign in front of 12 and it's negative, so that's how come I know it's -6. 41 plus 4 plus 36 is 81. So now I just have to write this in my circle equation because I know this isn't it. It has squares in it. So to condense this, it would be x plus 2 squared To condense this, it's y minus 6 squared equals 81. Now, to find the center, remember we take the opposite sign. So here, A would be -2. Here, B would be positive 6. And then our radius, we take our square root of 81, which is just 9. So that is my center, and that is my radius. So right now, I want you to try the next two, and then I'll post your answers right now, and then after you're done with that, you can try the homework and then submit it.